welcome to my channel. So today I'm talking about Society of the Snow, a new movie streaming out on Netflix directed by J.A. Bayona. He's a Spanish director. He directed The Impossible. Remember that tsunami movie with Naomi Watts, Ian McGregor, a young Tom Holland, who was so good in that movie. I watched The Impossible quite a few times. He also directed El Orfanato, The Orphanage. It's a creepy horror movie that I really liked. I remember when I watched it, I was like, whoa, what is this? So if you like suspenseful horror, go check out The Orphanage. Society of the Snow, it's about an Uruguayan flight that in 1972 crashed in the remote heart of the Andes, forcing survivors to become each other's best hope. So this synopsis, it's very sugar-coated because what interested most people about the story, about this Uruguayan flight that crashed in the Andes, was that the survivors, they became cannibals. They ate their friends and family members to survive. 45 people were on the plane and only 16 survived. So what caused the plane crash? From what I've read, it was like a Titanic for a plane. You know, due to the weather conditions, the pilot could not see, you know how Titanic, the ship could not see the iceberg? So the pilot could not see the mountain and it crashed in the mountain. The movie has already been nominated for Best Foreign Film at the Golden Globes, which airs this Sunday. I'm so excited. I'm always looking for new things that are coming out on Netflix. So when I saw Society of the Snow, I watched the trailer and I was like, wait, so this is like a remake of the 1993 movie Alive? Remember young Ethan Hawke? If you watch Alive, Ethan Hawke was in that movie. And I remember Alive being really good. But with Society of the Snow, I was thinking, why retell the story? Like, what's the point? And then I was thinking, maybe this generation who hasn't watched Alive and doesn't know anything about the crash in the Andes, maybe they need another Alive, because it's been 52 years since the crash. Like I said, I thought Alive was pretty good. I watched it quite a few times because, you know, I think I watched with my young self eyes, and then when I became an adult, I watched it again whenever it was on TV. And my biggest turnoff is that we had a bunch of white American actors playing the South American men. And I know Uruguay is the most European country in South America, but it wasn't really about the color of their skin. Because here we have real Spanish-speaking actors, and you know, I think most of them are like either first-time actors or not very well known. And I kind of like that because, you know, instead of having a big star in this movie or a very well-known face, I think because we have actors that are, you know, we don't know anything about them, it made the movie feel more real and genuine to me, especially because it was, you know, Spanish speaking. And I thought the whole cast did a fantastic job. The actors, I was looking them up, they're a mix of like Uruguayan, Argentinian, you know, Spanish. And maybe the director is trying to make up for the fact that The Impossible, the real family that survived the tsunami, they were a Spanish family. And in the movie, they made them an English white family. The movie is being narrated by Numa, who's one of the passengers in the plane. And right at the beginning of the movie, I think that was his intro, he was saying that this story, some people call it a miracle and some people call it a tragedy. I hate saying this word, tragedy. There you go. And this statement comes full circle because at the end of the movie, when the survivors are being reunited with their families, one of the moms, she's hugging her son and she says, "Oh, son, this is a miracle. This is a miracle." And he looks at her and says, "What miracle?" The movie is about 2 hours and 25 minutes long. And although the pacing might feel a bit slow at times, there are plenty of action scenes, especially the plane crashing scene. It got my adrenaline going. It reminded me of the underwater scene of The Impossible. If you've seen The Impossible, remember that we see from the beginning everything that happens with Naomi Watts. above water. We see her come out of the water and she's already all beaten up, you know. She's like busted. She like cracked ribs. She's got a cut in her thigh. She's all bruised. And then at the end of the movie, we see everything, the shots, like the way the director did it, I thought it was like genius. We see everything underwater. We see tree branches, debris, everything that's like hitting her and cutting her, and she's like screaming, like the famous poster of the Impossible. It's her hand reaching, you know, above water and trying to grasp for some air. The sound mixing was also incredible. And I don't know, it's because I was watching a house that has like the speakers above, you know, the ceiling, and I could hear everything. But there was another scene besides the plane crash where they're all inside of the carcass of the plane, and they're like telling jokes or reciting poetry, and then an avalanche comes and like boom, like hits them. I was on edge. By the way, if you want to go down the rabbit hole and learn more about this remarkable story, there are plenty of documentaries out there here on YouTube. There's one that's called Alive 20 Years Later. I think I watched that years ago. And then there's one now that's 50 years later, and it has interviews with the survivors. Now, let me address the cannibalism of it all. I know a lot of people say that what they did was not cannibalism, because to be a cannibal, you have to you have to kill a human being and eat them. What they did, they ate the dead. And that's called anthropophagia, anthropophagy. This whole thing started when one of the guys, he's peeing on the snow, and his pee is black. And I had to look that up. And apparently when your pee is black, it's when your body, it's not fully breaking down amino acids and you need protein. So the guys realized that they need some sort of protein. The dilemma of to eat or not to eat the dead, it's a big part of the film, as it is in this story. All the players, they're part of a rugby team, by the way. So, you know, all the players are churchgoers, Catholic boys. So there is that dilemma that, you know, eating someone that's dead, that's against their belief. But not just that, one of them questions that, is this even legal? Are we going to go to prison after we get rescued and people find out that we ate the dead? That was a logical question. They also discussed consent, because someone said, well, this is like organ donation. And then someone said, no, because they didn't give consent. In another scene, one of the guys is saying, if I die, you can use my body. And then it goes one by one. If I die, use my body. If I die, use my body. Everyone is in agreement. And that made me think about consent. Wouldn't you think, like, if your mother, your sister, or your friends, or your colleagues, if they were like dead, frozen on the ground, if it was my mom that had died, she would want to be of service to help me survive. Or if I was already dead on the ground, frozen, and then if I can help my family or my friends survive, go ahead. All you can eat buffet. Come on over. Enjoy yourselves. I mean, I don't have much to offer, but yeah, I would want them to, you know, come get a little snack here. And at the end, after they got rescued, one of them said, we will always support each other and we will tell what happened in the mountains. And I was just like, should have they told everyone, the press, the public, what they did in the mountains? But then I was like, oh no, backtrack. You know, people will have questions. They were out in the Andes for 2.5 months. So people are like, hey, how did you survive? And also the rescue team. When the rescue team got there, where are the bodies? They're supposed to be all frozen here. All we found were like bones and ribs and carcass. Like what, a mountain lion came in and ate the people? So I guess they had to come forward. And I thought the director did a really good job with the evolution of the struggle that they went through of, should we eat the flesh of our loved ones or not? Because at the beginning, they didn't even want to look. You know, there's like 3 guys, I think the 3 cousins, they're the ones that picked the bodies and did the cutting and then just came back with a plate of the meat. But at the beginning, they, someone was like, I don't even chew, I just swallow. And then by the end of the movie, they were eating it like they've been eating human flesh for years, like it was chicken nuggets. If it was me, after being rescued and going back to the real world, I would definitely become a vegetarian/vegan. Yeah, I would never want to see meat in front of me ever again. I remember Alive being more graphic, and I don't know, once again, because I saw with my little kids' eyes, I remember seeing where the bodies turn, face to the ground, and they cut the buttocks. They cut the butt of someone and they eat the meat out of the butt. I remember that was like so shocking for me when I watched that. And here we don't see much of that, like I said, much of the cutting, but we hear, and that like what stuck in my brain when Numa, he's narrating again, and he's saying that at one point they were running out of meat, and then he said we were stripping off the bones, and I was like, you got to the bones? The MVPs of the story were Nando and Roberto. The amount of gratitude I would have for them if I got like money from insurance, from lawsuits, for anything, it would all go to them. Once again, there's not enough thank yous that you can give to those two, because they basically saved the whole team. They went on this like hike in the snow in the mountains, and they're sitting there, Nando and Roberto, they're talking, and Nando was saying, I'm not going back to the plane, we gotta keep going, because all they saw was like snow, snow, snow. I was like, yeah, what's the point of going back? What are you gonna go back to the plane? Like what, to die there? You already walked so far, might as well keep going, and if you die, you die. Roberto says, you're asking me to go and die with you, and Nando says, I'm asking you to join me. And they kept going until they found water in a river, and some guy in the horse that saved them, and they got rescued, and they came back for their friend. So there's a scene where Nando and Roberto, they're at the little shack, the little hut from the guy in the horse, and they're eating, like stuffing their face with like bread, soup, they're dipping the bread or something. And I heard chicken on the background, like the chicken. If it was me, I'd be like, ugh, ugh. The thought of meat will make me like puke. One of the most touching scenes of the movie, it's when they're being rescued, and I think it was Gustavo or Tintin. I think it was Gustavo, but he's been collecting like keepsakes, trinkets, or belongings from the people that have passed away, like necklaces. So he's carrying the suitcase, and the pilot of the helicopter says like, no, too much weight. There's already enough weight. And he doesn't even say anything. He goes back, puts the suitcase down, he sits down on the suitcase and says, I won't go then. And then the pilot's like, okay, like, come on, it's fine. Because he wanted to return those keepsakes to the families. And I wonder if that really happened. Because I read that the survivors did not like Alive. They thought it was a very fictionalized and shallow tale of their story. And in Society of the Snow, they were actually used as advisors. They wanted to focus on the human side of the story and pay tribute to the whole group, especially to the ones who didn't survive. And it's important to tell your story accurately, because they got a lot of flack when back in the 70s, when they came out, they did a press conference saying what happened in the mountains, that yeah, they had to eat human flesh. There was a big headline that said, cannibals, may God forgive them. So I'm sure they want to be involved as much as they can. And they mentioned this in the movie, that there have been 35 crashes in the Andes and no one survived. So was this story a miracle or a tragedy? Here we go, this word, tragedy. I see it as a miracle. What about you? What did you think of Society of the Snow? Are you familiar with the story? Did you watch Alive? If you like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and also hit the little bell, the notification button, so you don't miss any future videos, and I'll see you next time.